Alright, so welcome back to the 10th video of this UiPath RPA project. And if you want to become a complete UiPath RPA developer, this is the right playlist for you. You will find the link of this entire playlist in description of this video. Go through that link. And if you want to understand every basics that is required to become a RPA developer, we are covering everything in this playlist, right? So let's start this video. In this UiPath practice project, we are going to cover all of these topics that you can see right now on your screen. So we have already created all of these workflows. So these all 6 workflows are already created in our previous videos. So if you have not seen those videos, you can find the link in description for this playlist. And then in this project, we have covered like how to work on complex selectors. So if you are following this project, you must have seen that we have changed the selector using variable. We have identified the selector for the pop-ups, and we have modified the selector as per our requirement. And if you have seen that we have used UiPath Gen AI activities in this project, and we have covered how to configure those activities in UiPath and how to use those activities, right? Now, we have already created all of these UiPath uh, workflows. We have already added the data in UiPath orchestrator. We have already set up the UiPath RE framework for dispatcher. For performer also, we have already created all of these UiPath workflows. Now today in this video, we are going to cover how to set up RE framework for performer. If you want to know in detail about UiPath, I have covered that in the last video. You can have a look. Now today, straightforward, we will start working on setup of UiPath RE framework for performer. All right. So I will go to my UiPath studio. I will create a RE framework. We have to be careful about the folder. So last video, if you have seen, what we have done is that we have created the RE framework outside, and then we have copy pasted everything inside the main project folder. Here what we are going to do is that we are going to create RE framework outside itself. So here you can see that car dispatcher and car performer. So RE framework for dispatcher is done. Now RE framework for performer we have to do. So what I will do is first that everything is inside this blank process, right? So what I will do, I will rename this folder workflows. Okay, here I will select this performer and I will create RE framework. You can see the path RE framework. I will change the name. Or let's create. All right. So in the last flow, what we have done, first thing that we will just go and change the name. So you will have two main workflows. So right now, if you see, one main is here inside that we are not going to use because we are not doing anything into that main. But still, if you are using main in your project when you are creating your automation workflows, there will be another main file that will be created by RE framework. Just for the isolation, you can change the name. Main RE perform, right? So as I have explained in the previous video that RE framework is a state machine. It has 4 different states. Initialization is to read the configuration data and initialize the applications. Get transaction data is to get the transaction from the queue. And then we have process transaction, where we will execute all our workflows, actual workflows which are performing different tasks on different applications. And if there is a success, I have explained this flow in the last video also. So if you have seen the last video, you can skip for 1 or 2 minutes. If let's say in init state, if there is some system exception, some machine is not working or some application is not working, system exception will come. And from system exception, that process will flow to end process. In the end process, kill all process workflow will be there that will close all the applications. You have to modify as per your applications, right? So this is the workflow file, close all applications. Understood? Now, if it is success that all the applications are initialized and everything is good in this state, next state is to get transaction data. Get transaction data will check that if there is data available or not, or there is a stop signal sent from the orchestrator. So what is the difference between stop and kill? Stop will, if the stop command is sent from orchestrator, it will complete the ongoing transaction and then stop on the next transaction. If kill command is sent from the orchestrator, then it will stop the work immediately. It's the difference, right? So if let's say data is available, if transaction is not equals to nothing, right? You have to open this workflow and understand it. If transaction is not equals to nothing, then only it will get the next transaction. We'll read the data in detail. I have explained in the last video, right? So if transaction is new transaction is there, will come to success. And if there is no data, what will happen? In the no data, the workflow will move to end process. Again, end process will come, right? So let's start reading our configuration file first of all. So if you remember that in the last video, we have this queue, test queue, and we have successfully added the data in this queue using dispatcher workflow or dispatcher RE framework. Now what we have to do in this RE framework, we have to read the data and we have to run our workflows. Which workflows? Yeah. So once we will read the data, then first data entry on the web page. If you are following the project from second or third video, then the next workflow is to generate the PowerPoint browser and then send email, right? Let's check our project folder also now. So this is the car performer. These are different workflows to create the browser, to do the data entry, to get the data from queue item. Now this is not required because we are using RE framework. We have used this for testing to read the data, right? So this workflow we will not be using, but still for testing, until you are not using RE framework, this will be required. And this UiPath workflow will convert PPT into PDF, and this UiPath workflow will attach the PDF file and then send the email to customers. So these were our workflows. Now we have to call these workflows inside process, right? Okay, so now let's go to RE framework, go to data. First thing, asset we are not using, but if you are using, you can give a name. Orchestrator folder, we are using default folder, so nothing is required. You can read the explanation here. Process queue name, so we are using test queue, right? Now what was the next thing that we have to use? We have to use our, that we are using this data entry form, right? And for this we are passing a URL. So I will open that workflow. We have already completed the development with hard coded value. Now to make that soft coded, what we have to do is Create browser, data entry is the workflow name. Okay, and now let's say that this detail I want to read from file, right? What I am doing in config file, I will give my web file URL. In the web file URL, I will give, so this will become the value. Okay. Control S, right? And then I will create a argument here. So we have to get this from config file in an argument. In web page URL. This argument I will use here. So what will happen if I am pasting same value here also, or any other value? Basically the value which is there in the config file will override this value, because that we will pass at the time of call. And this is default value. It will work only if when we are running the process from here. Right? So if you want to use hard coded here and then you want to change later, you can change later also. So as of now we have it, but let's say if we have to do the testing again, you can just pass hard coded file path and use. I will save it. There is no activity in the main, so we can just avoid, we can start our project directly from here. So in the last video, if you have seen that we have connected the workflows inside another workflow. So let me go to the dispatcher and then I will try to explain. So if you have seen that inside for each brand, we have called, so we have to go for in each brand, different brand, and then we have to go to 5 different cars. Inside the car, we have to extract all the features, value, price, engine, and then we have to add the data in the queue. So what we did that we have called this workflow inside this workflow and this workflow inside this workflow, if you have seen the previous video. But here in this project, what we are going to do is we are going to call separate workflows. Let me try to explain how it will work. So right now we have data available in the queue. Okay. To do the data entry in this page, we don't have any dependency. Whatever data is there in the queue, we can just update same data here. To create this PDF, if you see, we have this template, right? Master template. I have already explained the workflow. So we don't have any dependency on the previous workflow. I mean the data entry page. We are getting individual values and then we just have to create this template. So we can call this independently. We don't have to call inside data entry. Okay. And then the final one, if you see that, so this flow will create the browser. Once browser is created, then I think this send email, in the send email, we just have to use that file path, right? So let's see how it will go. Going in the RE framework again. So first thing is that we wanted to check if we are able to read the data. And the data that we are referring here is the data from config file, right? So I have just added this a few minutes back. Okay. So what we can do is we can just go here. I have already explained init file. So there are 3 different workflows. So first init all settings, which is to read the file. You can open this workflow. And here we read all 3 sheets. First 2 sheets, creating the sheet, and then From that, we read the config values, right? How can you check if your flow is able to read the config value? So this config value, this out config, if you go in the argument, out config is one output main of RE framework. If you go to variables, you can see this config file. So that out config is assigned to this config. So how can we see, like, we can just go in this init state only. We can try to print that value anywhere. So in this state, I will come in the end, try to use this section journal inside init. This try is there. So this try, what I will do is, after invoking all items, I will try to get white line here. Right line config. At the moment you will open the bracket, it will ask you that you have to pass the key. What is our key in config file? Key is web file URL, right? So if we pass that web file URL, then dot toString. And just for example, to understand, what you can do is testing. I'm just adding this message for understanding, okay? And then just run this. Let's see if it is able to print that file path or not. We have to save and close this all the times. Okay, so the first thing is that it has read the data. Maybe by mistake it might have run the transactions also. So I doubt if in the queue we will have same number of transactions. The reason was that when it went to the next state, there was some data which was coming, right? So let me just refresh anyways. Transaction number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has processed few of the transaction. It has done nothing because we have not given any workflow. But the transaction state will set successful. So basically out of this 32, 16 transactions are processed. So it is might get refreshed in some time, but we will continue with our process because after 13 we have many more to go. So our flow is able to read the data from workflow file. Now second thing is that in RE framework, go to journal business. Okay, after journal business, right now we don't need anything else. If you want, you can take folder path also from there and you can create a argument for folder path. So you can give one new type here like PDF folder path, and then you can pass that path. You can use this value as an input argument. You have already seen that how we have changed the input argument in this workflow. Same way you have to change in this PDF workflow also. So this PDF browser folder you can change. You can read it from config file. So do that experiment yourself. If you have any issue, just comment me. Now for the next step, what we have to do is that we have to read the data from queue. Right? We are already reading the data from queue. You don't have to do any changes here as of now because you are already able to read the data. And if you want to understand more about these workflows, you can open the workflow and you can refer to the last video, or you can refer to a specific video on RE framework on my channel. There also I have explained it, but right now just for explanation, we have already given the queue name and it is able to read. How it is able to read? Because we have already seen transaction successful, right? So now when we are reading it, now point is that how can we read the data from that transaction item, right? So if you see, if transaction item is nothing, it is setting transaction item to nothing when it is stopping the process. To get transaction data, we are getting the transaction data from this queue. You can open the argument, you will be able to see it. So get transaction item. In get transaction item, we are taking in config file folder, and from in config file we are taking the queue name automatically. So if you want to add few more, you can add here, right? And we are going on each transaction item, right? If you see the argument, transaction number, config file, out transaction field 1, out transaction field 2, all of these fields are out arguments. So what if you want to read the data here, you can read the data and you can take the values from here also, or you can read the values directly in the process state as well. So right now it will be confusing because there will be two different things mixed, so I will not be doing it. I will be doing simple process of reading all the data specific content in process transaction itself. So how we will read in specific content in process transaction? You come here after reading this everything, and then if you will go to journal flow variable, journal business, you will find some variable called transaction item, right? So this transaction item is getting assigned here. After it is assigned, you can take any specific content into any flow. Let's try one thing. And I am mentioning this again that there are different approaches to work with RE framework. Only thing is that you should understand this flow, like how this data is coming from process transaction, and then it is assigned to a variable, and then that variable is going to some other field. So this is how this entire process is running. We will take all the values first. So what I will do is I will add one more sequence. This sequence, rather than taking the data and creating these get this and now I will take multiple assign, right? So the first thing is that we need title. So what I will do is just to write that it is a specific content, I will use a SPC and title. Okay. So transaction item, you click here and you see the type of transaction item, it is the queue item. So this entire data is coming. Either if you want to read the specific content, we just have to come here, dot specific content, and then you have to give the title of your field, that is our the header of the field in the queue, title. Let me just show you what I'm talking about. If you come here, you go to view transactions. These are all transactions, and if you click into anyone, you can see the title is the first, mileage, power, price, rating. Okay, so all of these we need. Dot to string. Okay, so this specific content, SPC title, Then you, okay, SPC. Second is what? Mileage, then power price. SPC mileage transaction ID. So I will explain that what are these transaction field and transaction one, transaction field one and transaction field two. I will explain in few seconds. What? Okay. I will add more fields. SPC power is basically engine power most of the places. Transaction I, then we have to same for others. Variable is not created. Here workflows will be called, the first workflow or whatever, and then we will set the status of the transaction, set transaction status. I think inside this we should have that message box. It here. And what is the purpose of our testing? That are we able to get everything inside this workflow or process transaction? So for that, what we have to do, we have to use a message, I mean, write line or log message, whatever you want. So the first is title. Second, mileage. See, when you will work in real time, you don't have to add this SPC because you will have good practice. Right now, I am adding this SPC so that you can understand like which is the input argument where we have created, which is the name that contains the Q data. This is just for the understanding, for easy understanding purpose. Alright, so let's go to main RE framework, save, and let's try running it and see if it is fetching the data from data file we have not just. Let's run again. Run from here. RE framework. So bot, whenever you see this sign, green sign, which means bot has started execution. So there is an exception that cannot assign transaction as the content to SPC rating source activity. It is rating in our, yeah, it is rating. That was the reason. It is rating here and we have taken ratings. So that is why it is not able to fetch the detail. Just do the modification. So now this transaction is being set in process state. So this is a system exception. Okay, and if you are running it inside orchestrator, not directly from here, then it will become a retry. This transaction will be retried once again. Okay, we are doing it manually, so we just have to run it again. What says that there is no transaction data available right now. Let's check. Yeah, so if we see it has processed all the data. So there is no data right now. If you see, everything is processed. Maybe we are running for testing, so it has run all the cases. So what we have to do, you remember that we have our dispatcher RE framework already set in the last video. So we will just run that RE framework dispatcher and it will add the data. Okay. So I will just pause the video for some time and then I will resume once data is added. So the run is completed and we have 16 items added in the queue. Okay, now let's go to our RE framework performer. Let's run this once again. So it has come to that stage. Now let's check if data is coming. So you see the Maruti Desire 2020 is the mileage, 20 to 28 is the mileage. So let's check our first item, transactions. This is the new one. Maruti Desire 2024, 20 to 28 kilometers, 76 to 99 pph, 7 lakh, and rating is 4.5. Now let's check this information. So you see, this is the line that we have written here. right? And we are able to get the data properly. So what I will do is I will just, you can see that already transaction status is set, and that is why I had put the message box after set transaction status. Now we can stop this bot here. So to stop, just you have to click that square button. All right, so we are able to read the data successfully. That testing is done. Right now testing is completed, so we can remove this message box, not required. Now before set transaction status, we have all these data read, and then we are assigning the business exception to nothing. Every time we have to do that for each transaction. Now here in place of process workflow, what you can do is either you use it process.xml and you invoke all your workflows inside this, or if you want, you can use multiple invoke workflows here. In the last videos, what we have done, that we have opened this workflow. Inside this, we have invoke all other workflows. But if you want, you can directly invoke your workflows here also, right? And you have to import these two arguments if you want to get the transaction data there. So inside also you can read the transaction data. If you are taking this transaction item as the item, okay, no, not necessary that you have to do everything in this assign, multiple assign. I have done this because we have only few variables, but if you want, you can take that inside as well. What I will do is I will not touch this one. I will add one more invoke workflow UiPath workflow file. The first step in our workflow is to do the data entry. So when you will click on this, you will be able to see that all the workflows will be loaded. You see right now, you can see only which workflows which are there in framework, RE framework flow. Why? Because we don't have access. What you can do is you can either take the complete path from here and pass it, or the second thing what you can do is just close this, save, close all these files, save. I will just take all the files which are outside RE framework. I will move them inside this folder. In the previous video, we have seen a different approach, you remember? Now I will open this RE framework performer once again. Let's see if it is able to read the file, other files also. Save, open this. So it is able to load workflows also, because I have pasted that folder inside RE framework this time. So either you can take the previous approach that we have seen in last video, or you can take this approach. Anything is fine. So our first is data entry, right? Data entry. And if you click here, you will find all the arguments. So how are we getting this URL? You remember from config file in data config, right? This is our name, settings sheet. So you don't have to specify this sheet because it is already done by RE framework. You just have to do specify the key and then dot to string. It will automatically take that URL. Save. All right, let me check other arguments. So car title, where is our car title? If you remember, we have already taken or assigned that in the variable, that is SPC. Those variables are not coming here because level of the accessibility might have to change. So I think this is the specific content. Go inside for each variable. You can do the same thing in that workflow also in the argument. I will do for one. What I will do is I will not take this last one from here. I will remove this last one, image link. Right? Rest, let's take everything from here. Here we have to change the process transaction. Change the scope. So in UiPath, this is how you change the scope. In programming languages, you have to use those brackets, right? So I will change the scope for all these UiPath variables. Link, specific link, I am not taking here, so I can delete this variable. Yeah, here from here also we can remove this right line if you want. If you want to keep it that we have deleted that link, so that link will not come, rest everything will come. It is just for our testing. Here, done. Now come back here, data entry, arguments. So we need different arguments. Basically, we have not done complete coding in that, but we need everything. All of these variables are required there. Let's see what all we need. Data entry form. I think other than the link, we need everything, right? Car title, car mileage. So we have taken all hard-coded values, right? So I will just complete the setup of RE framework. We will still use these hard-coded values. Only thing that will change is car title and engine power. Why we have skipped that? Because we just wanted to set the entire flow first. Then I will again come here for the development, and you will understand how will you upgrade changes. So whenever you change the workflow and then you come again in the RE framework and you modify, right? So that also you will see in next video. But in this one, what we will do is we will just perform these two entries, car title and engine power. Right? In the next video, again, we will focus on RE framework, that how can you change things, right? So let's not change anything right now. I will keep two arguments only. The next video, I will add more arguments. Okay, so I will just import it. So title is coming as specific content title. Car engine power is also coming specific power, right? We are getting all the values. Hope you are able to connect how are we getting all the values from. What I will do is so this is done, right? Data entry is done. Now our next workflow is after data entry is completed. So as I explained that our workflow in performer are not interconnected as they are interconnected in dispatcher. If you are following this project, you will understand what I am trying to say. Now next is what? Next is that we have to create the browser. Right? Get queue item we are not using because we have used this workflow only for testing. When we were not using RE framework, we were directly reading the data from queue, right? So it is required because whenever you will do the testing out of RE framework, you can use this. But right now I am not using. What I am going to use is I am going to use another UiPath automation workflow, that is create browser. Let's go to RE framework once again. Data entry is done. Here once more we have to use UiPath invoke workflow activity. Invoke workflow file. Which file we are invoking? This time let's rename it. Let's select first. It is create browser. Right now, and we have to click on import arguments. Let's just open create. Okay, let's go to the project. In workflows, what is wrong with there is some is related issue. PPT activities are available. Okay, and what I will do is I will just select the workflow in the list. Browser, 5 arguments. So let's check the arguments from here, this side. So all these 5 arguments. In this, I want to use our title, special content, mileage, special content, price, special content, rating. Let's take engine power in a different manner. IN transaction item dot specific content. So it is a different approach that you don't have to declare variables. You can directly read data from your queue in the work when you are calling the workflow opposite against to the argument. What is the key for engine power? Orchestrator, UiPath orchestrator. And in UiPath orchestrator queues, there is our queue. Now how to check your transaction details or item details, queue transactions, UiPath transactions. And then UiPath transaction, you can open any of the, see the detail of this transaction. So we were looking for engine power. So it is only power. Open it, specific content, and then you just have to pass the key. Just have to pass the header of the item, that is power, label of the item. And then .to string is also required. Now you can save it, is done. After this will generate the file. Our email will take the same file, right? What we can do is we can invoke our email workflow here. Workflow file. It automatically change the name. So send email. Don't go to this typo error. So there is a typo mistake. 2 times I have written E. There also some problem in this workflow. Let's open the workflow and see. send SMTP mail. What you can do is you can simply replace the activity, and before that what you do, just keep a copy of this workflow, right? And you can just replace the activity here, send SMTP mail message. Just click to install the package. Okay, so it has already automatically replaced. So what has happened, like there was a update in between, right? Because of which you could see that the activities were not loaded. So UiPath will get updated every time. So you see here update service. So this service will be there. Now if we will go to RE framework again, and when you will open it, you see it is loading once again. It's loading all the workflows, and you will see the argument name will come here. So if you select this once again, send email this, click import arguments, it will take all 9 arguments, right? Which means everything is set now. So this is the solution of this problem whenever there is a change in the package. Okay, so now in arguments we have to set values. As specific content only we will take our title. I hope you understood this part till now. So recipient email ID. It is a hard-coded value. If you want, take this as argument. Maybe you can pass your email ID argument here. And it is this data is not coming from the queue. So in case when you are creating and there is a different recipient, okay, let me check if what I will do for now is I will give the hard-coded ID for this argument. In your case, what you can do is you have to insert when you are pushing the data in this queue, that time only you might add one more data field. Okay, I will leave that to you to experiment. This ACT ID is the account ID from which account we are sending the email. So that I have already specified there. And if you want, you can use this argument. I am not passing any value because I want to use the value same that I have passed when I have developed the default value. Okay, so if you want, you can keep this argument, otherwise delete this argument. So password is the password of this account which we are using. So that is also hard coded, but it will come from asset, orchestrator asset in your case, and you can use that asset here. How to read asset, there is a different video on that. So there are 3 different type of assets in UiPath orchestrator. Here we should use credential type of asset so that we can add our credentials securely. And then image URL, right? SPC image URL we have to directly read. Transaction item for the specific content. Image link. So we are set here too, right? So now we have connected all our workflows and we are ready to run this flow. What we will do still is that I will check if that Let's keep that message box after set transaction status so that we are able to view when it is running in test. If you want to stop your flow, then you can stop here. So now let's run it, and we might have to do some minor changes. The UiPath is running performer from RE framework, and UiPath RE framework could not find the file. All right, so we have to resolve this thing only first of all. It might be because of the path. Let's just check. I have stopped the pod from here. Let's copy this complete path. So you see the screenshot is taken, and go to our configuration file. Now let me just paste and see if the path is same or not. So you can see the path is not same. Now path is changed because we have pasted that into our folder. What I will do is I will paste that path here, view path. This is not required, only for just validation. I will close the config file, run the status. It should be available in the master directory. What we can do is simply we can just set the path of those. Let's take this complete path for now. You can read it from config itself. What I will do is I will open the config file. I will give it a name, master ppt path. Copy this, save, copy. Here you come. Simply you just have to change. Add another argument to your workflow. Master ppt path, save. Okay. So this is not in master path. Input arguments, it will become 6. You can see just now it was 5 seconds back, it has become 6. Master ppt path, you can read directly. So again config What was our key? I will go to data, RE framework data, config file. This is our key. Config. After config, you have to just give the key. It will take the value that key. Dot to string. Just click save first. That we missed. Now save before running again. So before I run this, I have to close this file. So before our project folder was workflows. Now our project folder is this RE framework. So if you see here in the workflow, so before the project folder was workflows, correct? Now the project folder is RE framework. That is the difference in the path. See here. It is after RE framework, PDF browser it is searching because we have not given the complete path. We have given the partial file name. So it is considering the project folder. But while saving here, we are saving the PDF right in the end. So let's go to the save presentation part. In the save presentation, if you see, we have not given complete path. We have just given partial path. So what it is doing, so it was saving in the project folder, and under the project folder we have not added any activity to create the folder if does not exist, right? You can add that, how to create folder if does not exist. So whenever you will run, it will automatically create the folder if it is not there, right? Simple thing, you just have to create this folder here also manually this time. Otherwise what you can do is you can use add one activity here, path exist. Just put this path here, select here folder, take the result. So it will path exist activity. So UiPath path exist activity will check that if any folder exists or not. And UiPath path exist activity returns a boolean value, true or false. Path exist. Okay, what you can do is you can add a if activity. If path exist is true, this is delete reference if path exists. We have to take that here. Path exist. Variables. Just delete this from here also. Okay, go back to this. Is okay, path just now you use path exist here. See the value, type, keep the cursor. It is a boolean, right? So now if condition will accept it. If path exists, do nothing. If does not exist, what you do, you create a folder. Which folder? Same folder that you are checking, and it is not available. Just have to copy same path, same folder you have to. So now you run this in any of the path, it will create the folder for itself. So in UiPath, this is how you check if folder exists or not. Folder name, and then you create the folder if not exist. So if exist, do nothing. If not exist, create the folder, right? You can give complete path also in place of this name. Let me just save it. Let's run our performer once again. Let's check how many items are there in the queue. We still have 12 remaining. That's fine. So these three are whenever we are stopping without completing. So those will be in process, right? Stage will not change. When you will run it next time from orchestrator, then it will automatically change. So right now we are not running from orchestrator. We are running RE framework directly. Bot has started. Okay, opened. It has cleared all our Toyota and Tata items. Now it is in the next brand, Mahindra. PPT is opened. Let's go and check our logs. So same thing for template also. So template, you see, I have not given any direct path. I have not given the complete path. I have used partial path. Email template should also come in the project folder, right? So if you want, you can delete this folder now. It is of no use because if you will, you might have, so just few minutes back we have added create folder. So you see this folder is created here also, same name. You have the browser saved. I am I am not purposely resolving all the issues offline because you should see and understand, right? So this is the browser for Mahindra. It is generated. If you have seen this workflow, how we have developed, the output is same, right? Now same thing we have to do with this workflow. We just have to paste this email template here, right? So right. So let's run it again. What is started? File is already open, so I am sure it is typing in the backend. So PPT is coming. Now let's go again and see if some other issue we see. Transaction successful. So one transaction successful completely without any error, right? I will click OK. You will see another transaction. So you can see PPT action is happening. Email might be getting triggered from UiPath activities. You can see another transaction is successfully done. So what is the success of our transaction? That it should send the email also. So let's check the email. I have just come to the email. Since the subject is same, so it will show multiple email. 2 minutes ago, you see. So you can see the email also. Email is getting generated as we have upgraded, right? So for each friend, it will come. So email is also being sent successfully. Browser is attached or not, that we have to check. I don't see the browser attachment. Right. So this is, I will do one small change. I will stop the bot first of all. And just to avoid the confusion, as we are good now, we have already saved this workflow. This copy workflow I will delete. Go to send email. Let me check how the browser is getting attached. This is the email. Delete. First, I will change the subject that title or title. So you see that when we have rectified the issues, we missed to add the path of attachment. That is the reason that is not getting attached. First thing that you can do is you just have to click here. Let's create a collection of file paths. Now one item in the collection, and yes, this error is gone. All right, so basically we have to click here, collection of file paths. We have to use file. Okay, we have just seen few minutes back, connect collection of file paths. Let's try to run this once again and see if it is working fine now. So let's say if you want to close all of these things automatically, what you do from this, close all applications. You can use same workflow. There also init, add init. If you want to close everything, right? But this workflow you just have to add here before you are reading the configuration file. But this also reads which all application you want to close. So open the workflow. You have to use kill activities here, right? And then those kill activities will close your applications. So before or maybe after you can use kill activity. Let me just try to use one process activity. Name we will just pass. Let's try this. Now if it will close this Chrome automatically. But remember all the Chromes will be closed. So that is why I was not using this. Let's try. And then I will disable after it is. So you can look at Chrome now. Chrome is killed. Reopened. Now it will type Mahindra because all Toyota, Tata, Maruti are processed. Opening the PTT, creating the browser. This time it has opened on the screen. This bot running, green sign you can see on the bottom. Let's check our logs. So one transaction is completed. The last check that we wanted to do is that the email is being sent. Attachment was not there. So this time let's try. I will check the Gmail once again. Yes, so you can see the attachment is added successfully this time. And this change that we have done, adding the title is also coming. So here is the title and you can see open the browser. You can read the name details. it should be same in the body also. So you can see the body, it is same, right? Which means our process is running fine end to end successfully. What I will have to do is, now I don't want this skill activity because I will be opening some other browsers also. If you want, you can keep. Second thing is that I don't want to use this message box any further because we have tested everything is fine. Okay, let's click stop this now. See how many items are there. I will open UiPath Cloud and my queue. Use so we have 8 items pending still. Let's do all the changes. This time we will run end to end without any break. So I don't want this skill. You can disable or I will just delete it. We have tested that yes, it is working. And in general business process, I want to remove this message box, which is stopping me again and again. I wanted it to stop me because I wanted to test it. Now everything is running fine, end-to-end transaction, everything is happening properly, right? So I will run all of these 8 transactions one by one, read all these things. I will just show you. Let's check first transaction there. Few transactions, successful, in progress, retried. You can see all of this, right? These status I will explain in a separate video. These are all different functionalities. So these all the things I have explained already in different video, and I am going to do one more video on this status to stay connected. Now view detail for this transaction. So next, we Maruti front check. This is Tata Tiago, Toyota Urban, right? So let's try these 8 transactions now. Manually, I will close this. Close the email also. Not right. Run the file. We'll still type only 2 values in the data entry field because in the next video we will complete the development. We will add few more UiPath activities and we will add all those development fields. So you can have a look here. So Maruti front tech is going on right now. Has opened, it is generate UiPath is open. UiPath has opened the PDF. It is working on the browser and right PDF is saved and UiPath send email activity must be working in the backend. Email is sent. Next item is taken by UiPath RE Framework. And now UiPath presentation activities are being used by the bot and it is creating the browser, right? It is sending the email, close. Now next item, right? So UiPath has completed the data entry. UiPath is opening the UiPath bot is opening the PDF. Browser is created by UiPath presentation activities. UiPath email sent. So what we can do is if you want to trace your UiPath logs, you can come on this screen. Keep this down. You can see all of these details will keep moving up, right? So now it is working on the next item. Tata Tiago. You can read here. And so this UiPath practice project is the integration is completed, and in the next UiPath practice project video, what we will see is that whatever is the remaining part, let's say if you have to do some small development in between, how will you do that? That was the purpose that I have left this drop down, car mileage drop down here, and I had left this customer rating. So now this development I will do in the next video, and then we will save that flow, we will run that flow once again, and then we will consider that yes, our project is completed for development. After that, in the next UiPath practice video, what we will do is we will go in the UiPath orchestrator, and then we will create UiPath machine, and then we will create UiPath job trigger, and then we will trigger this from orchestrator. Right? We will schedule our dispatcher in UiPath orchestrator, and we will schedule our performer also in UiPath orchestrator. So you can see now it is still working. It is, I think, working on the retried items now. Okay, so I think all the transactions are processed. Let's go and check our queue once again. It might take some time to update here. Meanwhile, let's check the email. So you see all of these emails are being sent as expected. Car images here, wonderful car image. And UiPath has generated this email also, proper email image, right? So this is the outcome of our practice project, that we are able to generate a fancy email using ChatGPT, UiPath ChatGPT activities. We are able to create the beautiful browser of car, and we are able to attach that browser in the email. We are able to extract the data from the website. We are able to extract the data from Carwale website, and we are able to create the queues. So this is very exciting. You can see so many emails, and all of these emails are sent by bot. All of these invoices are generated by bot. All of these browsers are generated by bot. All right. So this was the practice project. Now in the next video, we will see how can we schedule, how can we create machine, and how can we do all other tasks. Let's refresh this once again. So you can see 0 remaining and 51 successfully processed.